Prepared by Senior Analyst Desk Market Close Summary ####winners AMD, plus 11.4% AH to $187.22 Lisa Su delivered again. AMD posted Q1 revenue of $7.8 billion, crushing the $7.3 billion consensus, driven by a 68% YoY surge in its data center segment. MI350 GPU shipments ramped faster than expected, with hyperscaler orders from Microsoft Azure and Meta pulling forward into Q1. Management raised full-year guidance to $33 to $34 billion, up from prior $31.5 billion. Gross margins expanded 220 bps to 54.1%. The read-through for the AI infrastructure cycle is unmistakable. This is AMD eating into Nvidia's moat, one design win at a time. Eli Lilly, LLY, plus 6.2% to $991.30. Terzepatide keeps printing money. Mounjaro/Zepbound combined revenue hit $5.6 billion in Q1 alone, up 41% sequentially as manufacturing constraints eased. CEO David Ricks confirmed the company is now supplying all US dose configurations without shortage for the first time since launch. Pipeline catalyst, Phase 3 readout for orforglipron, oral GLP-1, expected in Q3 with interim data, highly encouraging. Eli Lilly is knocking on the $1 trillion market cap door. #### losers Super Microcomputer, SMCI, minus 22.7% to $33.18. The other shoe dropped. Supermicro disclosed a second delayed 10-K filing and announced that Ernst & Young, its replacement auditor, identified additional material weaknesses in revenue recognition practices. CEO Charles Liang issued a brief statement pledging cooperation, but the street isn't buying it, literally. Barclays downgraded to underweight with a $20 target. Nasdaq delisting risk is back on the table. Starbucks, SBUX, minus 8.9% to $81.55. CEO Brian Nichols' turnaround is stalling. Q2 same-store sales declined 4% globally, with China comps down 11%, the fifth consecutive quarter of declines in the region. U.S. traffic fell 3%, and the much-hyped menu simplification strategy hasn't moved the needle on throughput times. Nichols admitted on the call that the consumer reset is taking longer than we anticipated. Oppenheimer cut its target from $100 to $85, calling the premium multiple unjustifiable. The Fed, the FOMC held rates steady at 4.00 to 4.25% at its April 29 meeting, as expected, but the statement shifted notably dovish. The phrase, "further progress on inflation is expected," replaced, "inflation remains somewhat elevated," and Chair Powell's press conference signaled that a June cut is on the table if data cooperates. Fed funds futures now price a 72% chance of a 25 bps cut on June 17. Inflation, March core PCE, released April 30, came in at 2.4% YoY, the lowest reading since February 2021. The 3-month annualized rate dropped to 2.1%, essentially at target. Shelter inflation continues its slow deflation at plus 3.6% YoY, down from plus 4.1% 3 months ago. Yields, the 10-year Treasury settled at 4.02%, down 8 bps on the week. The 2S/10S curve is plus 38 bps, firmly uninverted since January. Real yields are compressing, and that's injecting oxygen into long-duration growth names. Dollar, the DXY slipped to 100.8, its lowest since March 2024, as rate cut expectations widen the differential with the ECB, which paused last month. Emerging market equities are catching a bid. 1. Nvidia, NVDA, $148.50. AMD's blowout raises the bar for Nvidia's May 28 report. The thesis: if AMD is growing data center 68%, Nvidia's Blackwell Ultra cycle should be even bigger. But expectations are nosebleed high. Watch for gross margin commentary. Any hint of pricing pressure from MI350 competition could trigger a sell the news event even on a beat. 2. Palantir, PLTR, $112.40 reports May 5. The AIP, artificial intelligence platform, commercial pipeline is the swing factor. The stock trades at 55x forward revenue, it needs to show commercial booking growth above 50% YOY to justify the multiple. CEO Alex Karp has been selling shares consistently, insider optics are poor. 3. SoFi Technologies, SoFi, $17.85 a rate cut cycle is SoFi's best friend. Student loan refinancing volumes are surging as borrowers lock in lower rates. The stock has quietly tripled from its 2024 lows. If the Fed cuts in June, this becomes a $20 plus stock. The lending platform segment turned profitable last quarter for the first time. 4. Shell plc, Shell, $68.90 Brent crude is at $71, down 15% YTD on OPEC plus quota disputes and sluggish Chinese demand. Shell's integrated model provides downside protection, and the company just announced a $3.5 billion accelerated buyback. At 7.2x forward earnings with a 4.3% dividend yield, this is a value trap or a coiled spring. The answer depends on whether China stimulus materializes this summer. 5. CrowdStrike, CRWD, $410.15. The July 2024 outage is finally in the rearview. Net new ARR re-accelerated to $290 million in the January quarter, and channel checks suggest the May 29 report will show further recovery. George Kurtz has rebuilt trust with CISOs. The stock needs to clear $420 resistance to confirm the technical breakout. Supermicro's accounting saga enters Act 3. What began in late 2024 as an auditor resignation has metastasized into a full-blown credibility crisis. Today's disclosure that Ernst & Young found new material weaknesses, reportedly tied to channel partner sell-through accounting in Southeast Asia, sent the stock to levels not seen since 2023. Short sellers, led by Hindenburg Research's original thesis, are taking a well-publicized victory lap on social media. The DOJ investigation remains open. Investors who bought the dip at $40 last fall are now underwater. The lesson, repeated endlessly and learned never, accounting red flags are never one time. Meanwhile, the AMD blowout is creating a philosophical split on the street. Is this a rising tide that lifts all AI boats, or is AMD specifically taking share? Nvidia bulls and bears are arming for what could be the most consequential earnings report of Q2. #V, video hook, 60 seconds, AMD just blew the doors off earnings and the STO.